Hey there! Happy December card kit release day. This is Crystal Thompson for Simon Says Stamp. So excited here with you today. We're going to be making two cards using the newest December 2020 card kit called Joyful Season. We're going to be making some very easy cards with just the contents of the kits and some very basic supplies. You know me, I love to make lots of cards with minimal amount of things. We're going to be using the Simon Says Stamp Joyful Season 6x8 stamp set. I have that ready to go on my Misty, and we are using the lipstick red cardstock. Included in the kit, I have trimmed this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have brushed on some cornstarch because we're going to do some heat embossing. I'm going to grab the Simon Says Stamp watermark embossing ink, and this is my favorite embossing ink because it's super juicy and it really just does grab a good hold of that embossing powder. So I have my cardstock ready to go. I'm pressing down the stamp, make sure it's going to be kind of centered, and I wanted to create some different variations of layers with the same stamp set. So this is like a really pretty poinsettia, Christmassy berries, and greenery that is from that joyful season. And I'm going to stamp it up, like I said, with that clear embossing ink. And then we're going to bring in some white embossing powder. And I'm using the Simon Says Stamped Fine White. And also my favorite, it really does show all the tiny little details. And you'll see this stamp set is super detailed. There's a lot of illustration. It kind of has a vintagey look. So it's super pretty. And I really love to be able to grab that gorgeous look, and it transfers onto that heat embossing. So we're just going to add a couple more spoonfuls of this white embossing powder. We're going to heat set it, and then we're going to come back and do the other side. So now that we got the other side done, we're going to repeat the process. I like to place a little bit of masking tape or washi tape on the back of my cardstock to hold it down, and I am not going to line up my florals too straight or too even because we're going to place another layer of the florals. So be sure that you space them out far enough off to the right to be able that they show up, and don't get them too close because then when you do that second layer on a different color cardstock, they're not going to show up. Repeat the process of doing some heat embossing with white using our mini Misty. I don't have a acrylic block that is big enough for this stamp set because it does follow the 6-inch length of this set. So if you do, you could totally skip the Misty part of it. We're going to again do the white embossing powder. You can totally fast forward if you want. And I'm going to heat set, and then we're going to move on to the next step of this card. Once that is done, we're going to grab the Altenew white, pure white paint, and this is just white paint, and using the back end of the spritzer, I'm going to flick again just to give it a little bit of detail and background to this card. If you don't have white paint, you can totally grab some white watercolor, create a nice little watercolor paste, and then flick it off with your brush. So now we're going to use the Simon Says Stamp Lipstick Red, which is the same color of ink as the cardstock included in the kit, and we're going to repeat the process. We're going to do two of these awesome floral bunches onto white cardstock, and we're going to create a nice little what would you call that, like another layer of flowers. So again, really utilizing, and I'm going to try to get these closer than the last ones that we just did, just because I'm going to cut around them. So we're going to bring in that lipstick red, and then we're going to stamp it down, and I'm going to let it dry because I am terrible at inky fingers. So just be sure that you let it dry. And this kit does include some Nina Solar white cardstock. So if you're wondering if the white's included in the kit, it totally is. I'm going to go grab my little scissors, which are my favorite Tim Holtz little snippets that were included in a previous kit, and I'm going to fussy cut all around it. It took me about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes to fully cut, and you can do super detailed fussy cutting if you like. I didn't spend too much time on it. So once that is done, I've added 2 layers of foam adhesive. So we double layered that guy. We're going to remove the backing and then we're going to place this at an angle. So my original thought was to place it over the top. However, I didn't space them apart far enough, but I was like, you know what, we'll angle it and it'll still create a really pretty look. Gonna grab some more of that lipstick red cardstock and we're gonna use the Merry Christmas from the Joyful Season 6x8 card stamp set included in the kit. And I have, of course, brushed on some cornstarch with my little brush. And we're gonna set this down and then we bring in our white embossing powder. We're gonna emboss that as well. We're gonna make it into a nice little ribbon of sentiment. And then we're going to add some foam adhesive to the back of that as well. And I decided to leave the sentiment strip nice and long just because it gives it a nice little look. And then with some white Nuvo drops, I'm going to create some super thick bubbles, super thick little circles, and it's really going to encompass and really finish this card. And there's not a ton of glitter on this at all, right? It's all very matte. We're letting the beautiful color combinations of the classic red and white shine through. And I'm just going to finish up with this Nuvo. So stay tuned. We have another card with the same supplies. All right, so for our second card, we're going to be doing some repetitive stamping using some of the supplies in the kit. Very, very basic card, yet it has an awesome punch to this. We're going to use the awesome Joyful Season 6x8 Merry Christmas sentiment, along with the same florals that we just did for that last card. We're going to utilize the ribbons for this card to really bring it up to life and give it some dimension. We're going to be using the lipstick red ink from Simon. This is going to match the same cardstock included in the kit. I have that red cardstock cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then we have a little piece of white cardstock, and this is going to be about 3 inches by 2 1/2, and it's going to center perfectly, giving you about 3/4 of an inch of an edge between the white and the red. So we're going to stamp that up with the lipstick red. We're going to bring it down to the card. We're going to flip it over, and if you want to use some little piece of tape or something to hold it down, that works well. Or you can let your ink dry and then use your magnet, so that way you don't get inky fingers and get that awesome card stamping ready to go. So I'm going to stamp down, and then we have some white spaces. So I'm going to fill in the white spaces with the I want to say it's like a mistletoe. And we're going to do the mistletoe on the right and the left part of this white cardstock, again using the lipstick red ink on both edges, and really finish out the card. It makes it look really clean, really finished. And as you can see, when it's stamped, it looks nice and dark, but as it's drying up, it gets a beautiful lipstick red color. Then we are going to mat our stamped image using the Tombow roller adhesive. This is my favorite adhesive. It doesn't curl, doesn't turn yellow, and it really makes it permanent. So once you stick it down, it is down. I'm going to place it right on the center. It's going to expose about 3/4 to 1/2 an inch of each piece of that lipstick red cardstock. And once that's done, we are going to move on to the sentiment. So on another piece of that Nina Solar White, I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas from the Joyful Season. And I'm going to be using Schoolhouse Red for this. Just I wanted something a little bit darker. Going to let it dry for just a couple seconds. And using my scissors, I'm going to fussy cut around it, circular motions, getting some round edges. Then this kit includes a Simon Says Stamp candy cane heart die set, which includes these little sticks to finish up the candy cane die. But I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use them to decorate it using some Tombow. I added it and then place the little dies. And then from the same kit that includes a Tim Holtz Ideology Christmas velvet trims, I'm going to use some of these velvet trims in the bright red. It kind of looks like that lipstick red. And so I'm adding adhesive as I place them. And then once I place them all, I'm going to grab some foam adhesive and layer the entire thing with that foam. That way it secures it and it's not going to pop off. The hardest thing about this is figuring out where to place it. So I'm going to place it right on the center, and I'm going to finish up the entire card with a little embellishing. So I'm going to go grab my glue, and I'm going to embellish using the red sequins, and these are from a previous Simon Says kit, so you can even use any sort of sequins that you've got: silver, red, white, Nuvo drops, but I wanted to give it just a little bit of glitter, a little bit of shine, and that's going to finish up our card. And guys, that does it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me today on this newest release, December 2020 card kit, Joyful Season from Simon Says Stamp. We're using very basic supplies, making these two super fun Christmas cards. Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions down below. All products are listed in the video description. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the video. And there's going to be a part 2 to this, so stay tuned. There's another one coming up. I'll talk to you later.